What's up, everyone? It's Nick here with the BuzzLux YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in today. And today we're looking at my $800 AMD gaming PC build. Um, Now, I had one of these posted before if you were following my channel at all, but I thought I could do a little better. So I decided to remake that one, um, as well as make a comparable Intel build, an $800 Intel gaming PC build. So if you're interested in this kind of price range, uh, make sure to check out my Intel video. So moving on here, uh, let's get started here. All right, for the case, I chose the Cooler Master N200. Really love this case. Great case for the price and for micro ATX build. Um, has a lot of cool features. I'll go over just a side picture of it here. Really good airflow. It has black cabling, which is a really big plus for a case in this price range. Most of the time, you'll see like really ugly colored cables for the front panel connections, um, and also having two 120 millimeter fans is a big plus for a case in this price range. So that's the case there. It has USB 3 in the front. It supports Hyper 212 Evo CPU cooler. Very nice design here. Very minimalistic. Plenty of cable management in the back, as well as a 2.5-inch drive slide or sled in the back. So enough about the case. Let's look at the motherboard. So this motherboard is part of MSI's gaming series, which personally I think look awesome. Great looking products here from MSI. This is very feature rich. I'm not going to go over everything this board has, but it's pretty well loaded. It has upgraded audio here, nice expansion slots here. Has 8 SATA 6 gigabit ports, power reset buttons on the board itself. It supports 2400 megahertz RAM. So yeah, it's got a lot going on here. Now one thing it has is a 4+2 power phase design, which isn't the best for this chipset. There are some that have a 6+2 phase power delivery, but this is still very high quality, and I'm sure the power delivery components are of very high quality as well. So yeah, that's my choice for the motherboard. Moving on here, the graphics card. So as of right now, this MSI R9 280 is a really good choice for a graphics card in this price range. Once overclocked, it beats the GTX 760, which is pretty much its direct competitor right now in terms of price. And this is still actually a little bit cheaper than most of the GTX 760s you can find. Uh, so, and this also has an extra gig of VRAM compared to the regular GTX 760s. So, more and more games are using more VRAM. So that's definitely a plus. Um, Now, we are, though, I have to say, like a couple weeks out from NVIDIA releasing their replacement for the GTX 760, the card that this competes with. Um, so that should be a lot better than this R9 280. But as of right now, this is the choice for the build. After I go over the rest of the build, I will give you some options to where you can fit the GTX 960 into this build once that's released. And if you decide to go that route, I'll give you some options so you can fit that into this build. But for now, let's continue with the next component. Here we have the power supply. And like the case, I like to use this power supply a lot. It's the EVGA 600B power supply. It has a 3-year warranty, 49 amps on a single 12-volt rail. It's 80 plus bronze certified. Very nice power supply from a reputable company. Now when you're looking for a power supply, make sure to get enough power for the build you're going for, and also make sure to get one from a reputable brand. There's a lot of no-name power supplies that are a lot cheaper than this, but they're a lot cheaper for a reason. And because your power supply is powering all your components, if something goes wrong with it, it could take all of those with it. So definitely get a quality power supply from a reputable brand when you're building a computer. Now this is not modular, so it has a lot of extra cables you might not use, but to get the modular power supply, you'll need to spend a little more. So I stuck with that. And with the cable management in this Cooler Master case, you should have no problem kind of hiding and tidying things up with your cable management. So moving on, let's look at the next component. Alright, the processor here. So the processor I chose for this build is the AMD Athlon X4 860K. Now this is the upgraded or the replacement for the Athlon X4 760K, and I've read online that this is supposedly a 10% improvement clock for clock in comparison to the 760K. So when they're clocked the same speed, this is about 10% improvement with the architecture. So that's a pretty good improvement for AMD. It's a quad core, so you have 4 cores to process stuff. Now, the direct competitor to this is the Intel Pentium Anniversary chip, the overclockable Pentium. And for single-threaded performance, Intel really does blow AMD out of the water, especially like with that Pentium compared to this for single-threaded performance. It's significantly better, but that processor is limited to 2 cores and 2 threads, whereas this has 4 cores and 4 threads. So these newer games that are coming out are actually requiring 4 cores to even play them. So for the $800 bill, that's why I went with this particular processor, because if you're spending $800 on a computer, you're probably gonna want to play those brand new AAA titles when they come out, and this way you won't have to like upgrade processor or anything, and you'll be good to go still. And another thing I want to add is the GTX 960, if you decide to go that route when it's released, supports DirectX 12 API, the new API coming out, and that actually reduces the load that's thrown on the CPU while gaming. So that will also benefit, this kind of a processor. This won't have to work as hard to while you're gaming and stuff. So that's why I chose this, even though it's like competitors, the Pentium, and the single-threaded performance is better on the Pentium. I thought that the quad core, even though it might not be as powerful single-thread wise, I still decided to go with this. All right, enough about that. Let's move on. All right, the RAM. So keeping on with the AMD build, I chose the AMD Radeon R9 Gamer Series RAM. Now this is a 2 times 4 gigabyte DIMMs, so 2 4 gig DIMMs. It's clocked at 2133 megahertz and has pretty decent timings too for this speed. And it'll look really nice with the build. It actually comes with a 8 gigabyte flash drive from AMD right now. So, alright, good bonus. Alright. Oh, and also this new architecture from AMD. If you know anything about their APUs that they've been doing, this is actually, um, if you know what the A10 7850K, I believe, if you know what that is, uh, this is basically that processor without the graphics built in. So it's just the processing core, or processing cores, and then that's why it's also half the price of that, because you don't have the GPU integrated. Um, and with this architecture, it actually I've read that it benefits from faster RAM, so that's why I chose with the little bit more expensive, faster clocked memory. All right, moving on here. The SSD. So, like my case and my power supply, this is pretty much the SSD I use exclusively for builds. Even my higher end builds, I use this SSD because the read and write performance are great. And it's 550 megabytes read, 500 write, and like really good IOPS as well. Um, Plus, it has a 5-year warranty, and it's only $100 for a 240 gig. So great price per gig ratio here. This should be plenty for a pretty good amount of games to be installed at once, and you can always just uninstall one when you want to install a new one and whatnot. Um, so yeah, moving on. And this is the route I I would recommend to go right now, is to get a 240 gig SSD right now, because in like 6 months they're gonna come down a lot in price, and you'll be able to pick up a second larger SSD for mass storage down the line when you need it. So that's the way I'd recommend to go right now, is get a, I wouldn't recommend like a 120 gig, because that will fill up way too quickly, but a 240 is a good sweet spot for SSDs right now. Alright, moving on. Here we have the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo. So this processor is unlocked, and it does get pretty hot with the stock cooler, even at stock speeds. So that's where we have the most recommended cooler come into play. This is the 212 Evo. It's pretty much the go-to cooler for anyone looking to build a budget gaming PC and wants to overclock. So, plus you get to use this for future builds if you decide to build another one after this. This will be able to use this with it. So, we should be able to get about 4.4, 4.5 gigahertz out of this processor with this cooler here. And then last on the list is Windows. And I just include Windows because most people don't really have an extra key, so I include it. And if you don't need it, then it's only a $700 build. So there you go. Now, like I said earlier, you can include, you can replace the R9 280 and get a GTX 960 if you want. In order to fit that into the budget, you can just get a cheaper motherboard. You'll still be able to overclock on some of these cheaper motherboards. And you can do that, get a cheaper motherboard, and be able to fit that into the budget. Or you could get a mechanical drive, like a 1 terabyte hard drive, and be able to fit it into the budget. So those are the two options you can take to fit, that graphics card into the budget. Or you can spend like 30, 50 bucks more on top of this and fit it in. So up to you. This is my $800 AMD gaming PC build. If you're interested in the $800 gaming PC build, I have another video of the Intel build, so make sure to check that out. Thank you for watching. This is Nick with the BuzzLux YouTube channel.